There are many reasons I don't believe in God, and I'm totally convinced that all religions are the creations of man, but I'm just going to touch on one of the reasons not to believe in religion. Let's assume there's a God, which raises another question. If there's going to assume there's one God, why not many? But I'm not going to argue that point. Let's assume that this God cares about us and has a plan for us, tiny specks of, in my opinion, rather poorly engineered specks of cosmic dust. That does not mean that your religion, or any religion, is the word of God. I think when you examine any religion with an open mind, you see its human origins. There are many reasons, but I'm just going to harp on one main point about the Middle Eastern religions that nobody has ever been able to give me anything close to a satisfactory answer to. All these religions teach as a central tenet of their faith that our life on earth is just a test. I find this whole idea pretty laughable for the following reasons. First, why would any God need to test us? I mean, doesn't a God know everything? Isn't everything part of his divine plan? So if we are going to take this idea of God's plan as a just logical conclusion, everything we do, be it good or horrible, is just carrying out your God's will. Everything from helping old ladies cross the street to sending millions to horrible deaths in concentration camps. So if his life is a test, then what happens to those who die young? For example, what about a child that is raped and murdered while your God sits, watches, and does nothing? What about all the others who die very young for whatever reason? And next, what about the mentally ill? Most are born that way. Some of you might call me mentally ill. If you're right, why is that my fault? I assure you that I'm using my mind to the best of my ability. And speaking of those who can't be tested fairly, what about children, such as a child soldier who's brainwashed to kill, or adult for that matter, and then dies after committing atrocities? What about the mentally ill who kill? So this God supposedly sits back and watches these horrible atrocities happen, 3D, 4, 5D, whatever gods watch things in, while he does nothing, because he cannot interfere in his supposed plan. But then he turns around and makes people that cannot be tested in any way. How can you test, a child that died at 2 weeks? Now, you can say they all just go to heaven, but what if Hitler, Stalin had died young? What about all those who die young who would have went on to commit atrocities? Could they all be in heaven now? Besides, if someone can just skip the test and go to heaven, why even have the test? Why not just send everyone straight to heaven? Or we can say they go to hell. Well, is that fair? I mean, just because they died young or your God gave them defective minds, whatever, they're going to be sadistically tortured for all eternity? And that brings up another absurdity in Middle Eastern religions. Why torture people for all eternity? Now, I can see maybe someone like Hitler deserving torture for a while, but even something like that, I would say after a few trillion, zillion years of torture, well, isn't that enough? No, your God is enough for all eternity. And this is just torture for torture's sake. I mean, they're not torturing these people for information or anything like that. And so, if your God created these horrible people, why not just uncreate them as a punishment? Give Stalin a glimpse of heaven and say, hey, boy, sorry, buddy, you're not going to get these virgins, whatever, because you're a bad person. And furthermore, your God sends people to be tortured. He preaches what you love over ideology. He's not even the Bible, the Quran stuff says, if you don't believe, you're going to hell. It's, whether you kill or not, well, that can send you to hell too. But the number one thing is belief in God. That's kind of if someone's an atheist and they live a good life, isn't that enough? I mean, this God never gives real evidence he exists anyway. So according to these holy books, Hitler, if he accepted God right before he died, he could be in heaven right now, while some of his victims he sent to the gas chamber that were atheists could be burning in hell for all eternity. It's possible if your religion is true. So not to run my mouth too much here. So that's you have it. You have a God who calls himself loving, merciful, great, and all these other flattering things. Yet this God tortures for all eternity for a test that many can just skip or automatically fail? Is that divine justice? Or maybe, assuming there's a God, none of your religions is really the word of a God. Maybe all these holy books are nothing more than the words of our primitive, brutal, backwards, superstitious ancestors. If you use a bit of common sense, there is only one conclusion you can come to here. So I've run this argument by a few people, and none of them give me anything near a decent answer. So it's basically it's all about this test. Now we have this test. Well, if this test is so important, why many people either automatically failing it or going straight to heaven? What's the logic in that? So I look forward to your answers. Thank you.